Hello students, in today's class we're going to study about blood groups and blood transfusion. Blood groups, it was given by Karl Landsteiner in 1901. He proposed that there are two types of proteins found in human blood. Those are antigen, those are antigen and antibody. Antigen is a glycoprotein present on the surface of RBC, while antibody is a protein present in blood plasma. So these two types of proteins are found in human blood, and this was found by Karl Landsteiner, who proposed different blood groups. Antigen A and antibody A are not said to be compatible. They are incompatible because they lead to self-clumping. They clump with each other. Similarly, antigen B and antibody B are incompatible because they also perform self-clumping. So he considered that antigen A and antibody B are compatible because they will not clump, while antigen B and antibody A are considered to be compatible. So always remember that if there is antigen A, the antibody will be B. If there is antigen B, antibody will be A in that blood group. So he has given rise to the ABO blood grouping. He has given rise to ABO blood grouping, which consists of 4 blood groups. Those are blood group A, B, AB and O. He said that blood group A consists of antigen A and antibody B. Just now we discussed if the antigen is A, antibody will be B, otherwise they will self-clump. So blood group A consists of antigen A and antibody B. Similarly, blood group B contains antigen B and antibody A. Now comes blood group AB. So the blood group AB consists of two antigen A and B. Consists of both the antigen A and B, but it does not contain any antibody. It does not contain any antibody. That is why it is also considered to be universal recipient. Means it can receive the blood group from all, it can receive the different blood groups. It can receive all the blood groups because it does not contain antibody at all. So it is universal recipient. Now comes blood group O. So blood group O does not contain any antigen, but it contains both the antibodies A and B. So since it contains both the antibody, it is considered to be universal donor. It can donate the blood group to all. To all the blood groups, it can donate the blood. The person having blood group A is considered to be universal donor as they can donate the blood group to all. And why it is so? It is so because they do not contain any antigen. Now the question arises, the person with blood group A can donate the blood group to which blood groups? So here are the blood groups written. Always remember that AB is a universal recipient. So it can receive all the blood groups. So write down AB in all first of all. Write down AB in all because it can receive all kinds of blood group. Then comes that the person with blood group A can give the blood group to another person with blood group A. But the person with blood group A cannot give the blood to the person with blood group B. Why so? Because it will lead to self-clumping. Because person with blood group B, now see here, person with blood group B will contain antibody A which can clump with this antigen A. So the person with blood group A cannot donate the blood to person with blood group B. Now, another question, can a person with blood group B donate a blood to a person with blood group A? Similarly, no. Why? Because it contains antibody B which can clump with antigen A. So this can also create problems. So the person with blood group B can donate the blood to person with blood group B only, and AB as well, because it is a universal recipient. It can receive all blood groups. Then comes the question, a person with blood group AB can donate the blood to whom? A person with blood group AB can donate the blood group only to person AB. It cannot donate the blood to it cannot donate the blood to person with blood group A and B. Now, similarly, with the person with blood group O can donate the blood to AB as usual, since it is a recipient, universal recipient. It can also donate the blood group to person with blood group A, B, and O. Now the question comes, which person can receive this blood group? So a person with blood group A and O can receive the person having the blood group A. Now we have just studied that blood group O is a universal donor. So universal donor, it can donate the blood to all. So this person with blood group O can donate the blood to all the blood groups. So person with blood group A can receive the blood from person with blood group O. All the blood groups can receive the blood from the person having blood group O. So O has been written in all. Now the person with having blood group A can also receive the blood group from person having blood group A. Similarly happens with person with blood group B. Now we move on to person with blood group AB. The person with blood group AB can receive the blood from person having blood group A, B, and AB as well, while the person with blood group O can only receive the blood from the person having blood group O. Now comes the question of a blood transfusion. So just now I explained that the person having blood group A cannot donate the blood to the person having blood group B. Now why so? Why so? Because blood group A contains antigen A and antibody B. So the antibody blood group, now explaining with the help of this the representation in the table. Now person with blood group A contains antigen A and antibody B, while the person having blood group B is having antigen B and antibody A. Now what will happen when both the blood groups will come in contact? Then the antigen B will come in contact with antibody B. Then it will lead to clumping, and antigen A will come in contact with antibody A. It will also lead to self clumping. So this condition leads, this phenomenon is known as agglutination. This clumping which takes place is known as agglutination, and agglutination may cause serious consequences and may even prove fatal. So here it is written also, the antigen A present in RBC of blood group A individual reacts with the antibodies present in blood group B and vice versa. So this process is agglutination. To avoid this situation, the person with blood group A cannot receive the blood from person with blood group B. So this question may come for give reason. So if this comes, you will explain the process of agglutination. Now, I have already explained you that person with blood group O is considered to be universal donor and with AB is considered to be universal recipient. Why so? Because a person with blood group O does not contain any antigen but contain both the antibodies, while the person with blood group AB contains both the antigen but does not contain any antibodies. Now we move on to the RH factor. RH stands for rhesus. What is rhesus? Rhesus were the monkeys. Rhesus monkeys were found, and it was found that this RH factor was present in this rhesus monkey also. So it was named as RH factor. It was given by Landsteiner and Wiener, who discovered it in 1940, and they have given that this RH positive and RH negative individuals play a major role in this blood transfusion process. So, what is this RH positive and negative? Let us study about it first. RH factor stands for rhesus factor. The person which contains this RH factor is considered to be RH positive, and the individual which does not contain this RH factor is considered to be RH negative. Now, what happens if a person is RH negative? If a person is RH negative and they are receiving the blood from the person with RH positive, a person is RH negative and they are receiving the blood from person having RH positive, then there is a very big complication which arises, but for the second time. Now see what happens. Now the blood from person containing RH positive factor, containing the RH factor, enters into the person not containing RH factor. Now, so RH negative person is not having the RH factor. Now this RH factor has entered into their blood. Now their blood will now produce antibodies. Their blood will produce antibodies against these RH factor, which will act as an antigen. So what will the RH negative person blood will do? It will produce antibody against this RH factor which has entered into their body through the blood group of RH positive person during the first blood transfusion. And now during the next transfusion, now suppose if that person requires the blood for the next time also, so for the next blood transfusion, if again the person containing RH negative blood group again receives the blood from RH positive person, so what will happen? Now they are containing the antibody against this RH factor. So these antibody will now destroy this RH factor. These antibody will now destroy this RH factor which have entered their body. And during the destruction of this RH factor, they will destroy their RBC also, because the RBC is containing this RH factor. This RH factor has entered the RBC of the RH negative person. During destroying this RH factor, they will destroy their RBC and it will be very fatal for that person. I am explaining again. Now what has happened? RH नेगेटिव वो लोग होते हैं जिनमें RH फैक्टर नहीं होता. RH पॉजिटिव आर दोज विच आर कंटेनिंग द RH फैक्टर. सो RH नेगेटिव पर्सन जिनमें RH फैक्टर नहीं है, RH पॉजिटिव पर्सन विच इज़ कंटेनिंग द RH फैक्टर. तो क्या हुआ? RH नेगेटिव पर्सन को RH पॉजिटिव पर्सन का ब्लड ट्रांसफ्यूज़ किया गया, ट्रांसफ़र किया गया. नाउ what has happened, Rh negative person will now get this Rh factor through the blood transfusion. अब Rh negative person जिनमें Rh factor नहीं है उनकी बॉडी में Rh factor enter कर गया through Rh positive person. Now on receiving this Rh factor, they will act by producing antibodies. They will act by producing antibodies against this Rh factor. They will produce antibody against this Rh factor because this is a foreign substance. This is a foreign substance, foreign particle, foreign factor for them. So they will produce antibody against it during first transfusion. तो एंटीबॉडी अभी प्रोड्यूस कर ही रहे हैं, प्रॉपर अमाउंट में एंटीबॉडी प्रोड्यूस नहीं हुई है, इट विल टेक टाइम. सो ड्यूरिंग फर्स्ट ट्रांसफ्यूजन नो प्रॉब्लम विल अकर. बट दूसरी बार अगर फिर से इस RH पॉजिटिव पर्सन का ब्लड दिया जाता है RH नेगेटिव पर्सन को, तो ड्यूरिंग द सेकेंड ट्रांसफ्यूजन व्हाट विल हैपन, ड्यूरिंग द सेकेंड ट्रांसफ्यूजन नाउ द पर्सन इज ऑलरेडी कंटेनिंग एंटीबॉडीज अगेंस्ट दिस RH फैक्टर. तो सेकेंड ट्रांसफ्यूजन में फिर से ये RH फैक्टर एंटर करता है RH नेगेटिव पर्सन की बॉडी में, और अब क्या है, अब एंटीबॉडी पहले से ही है, तो ये एंटीबॉडी क्या करेगी, RH फैक्टर को डिस्ट्रॉय करेगी. ये एंटीबॉडीज RH फैक्टर को डिस्ट्रॉय करती है, ठीक है, बिकॉज दिस इज अ फॉरेन पार्टिकल फॉर देम. ड्यूरिंग डिस्ट्रॉइंग दिस RH फैक्टर, this RH factor is stored in the RBC of the person. During destroy this RH factor, they also destroy their RBC and damage their RBC, which can be very fatal for that person. So this is the problem which a person suffers when the RH negative person receives the blood from RH positive person. लेकिन अगर जस्ट ऑपोजिट हो जाए, अगर RH पॉजिटिव पर्सन को ब्लड ट्रांसफ्यूज़ हो रहा है RH नेगेटिव पर्सन का, कोई दिक्कत ही नहीं है. RH नेगेटिव पर्सन मीन्स RH फैक्टर नहीं है इनके पास, और इनका ब्लड दिया जा रहा है RH पॉजिटिव पर्सन को. नो प्रॉब्लम, नो कॉम्प्लिकेशंस इन दिस केस. But if we reverse the situation, there will be a problem. Now, if this situation occurs during pregnancy, what will happen now? Now see, if the mother is RH negative, if the mother is RH negative, mother's blood is RH negative, and the fetus which is present, and the fetus which is present in her body is RH positive. The fetus is containing the blood group which is RH positive, and both the blood groups are coming in contact through placenta. Both are coming in contact through placenta. So the pregnant mother is having RH negative blood group. This is of mother. This is of mother, and this is of the fetus. Now, what will happen? Both are coming in contact through placenta. Now, what is happening? Now, mother's body is receiving this RH factor from the child, from the fetus. So, during the first pregnancy, what will happen? Mother's body will be producing antibodies. So during first pregnancy, no complications occur because mother's body is producing antibodies. So during first pregnancy, mother's body is just producing antibodies against this RH factor which has entered into her blood through the fetus. Now, during the second pregnancy, if during the second child, what happens if the second child is again RH positive and mother is RH negative as usual? So, what will happen? This RH factor will again enter into mother's blood, and it will come in contact with the mother's blood. Mother is already containing now antibody which will try to destroy the RH factor which is present in the blood of fetus. So Now, since this antibody is trying to destroy the Rh factor which is present in the blood of the fetus, so during destroying this Rh factor, the mother's antibodies also destroys the RBC of the fetus. This leads to the death of fetus within the mother's body. And this condition is known as erythroblastosis fetalis. The condition is known as erythroblastosis fetalis, means erythrocytes, that is RBCs, are destroyed of fetus. So the condition is known as erythroblastosis fetalis. I'm repeating the situation again. What is happening? The antibodies during the second pregnancy, which were produced during the first pregnancy, only the antibodies were produced. Now during the second pregnancy, these antibodies will act against the Rh factor transferred from the child, from the fetus blood into the mother's blood. Then what will happen? It will try to destroy the antibodies in the mother's blood, will destroy the Rh factor which is present in the fetus body. So during that, it destroys the RBC present in the fetus and leads to the death of the fetus. Now we move on to another topic, which is blood vessels. So there are three types of blood vessels: artery, veins and capillaries. We'll first talk about arteries and veins. We'll talk about them with respect to human heart. So the veins are responsible for carrying the blood to the heart. They carry the blood to the heart, and arteries are responsible for carrying the blood away from the heart. Veins are responsible for carrying the deoxygenated blood, and arteries are responsible for carrying the oxygenated blood. Except the pulmonary artery and pulmonary veins. These are the exceptional cases. Now, the blood through the veins moves with a low pressure and low speed, since it has to reach only to the heart. But the blood from arteries is moving with a high speed and high pressure because it has to reach to all parts of the body. Now, there are three layers present in case of these two blood vessels. These layers are, names are written over here: tunica externa, tunica media and tunica interna or endothelium. The outermost layer is tunica externa, this one. The middle layer is tunica media, and the innermost layer, also known as endothelium, tunica interna. So these three layers are present in both of them, both arteries and veins. So this is artery and this is vein. So it was observed that this tunica externa is very less developed in case of arteries. Now see, in case of arteries, the outermost layer is less developed as compared to the middle, and the inner layer are more developed. But in case of the veins, you can see that the outermost layer is more developed as compared to the inner and the middle layer. In case of vein, you can see that the tunica externa is comparatively well developed as compared to that in case of arteries, and the tunica media and endothelium will be less developed, while in this case of tunica media and endothelium will be more developed. Now comes valves. Now see the structure of valves. These are how the valves look. So valves are present in case of veins, but it is absent in case of artery. Arteries do not contain valve, but the veins contain valve. This is how the valve looks. The valves open up when the blood passes from here to the heart, carries the blood to the heart, and then it closes up. Valves closes to prevent the backflow of blood from heart back to the organs. So valves function is that it helps in the movement of blood only in one direction and prevents the backflow of blood. Position in the body, the arteries are deep seated and veins are comparatively superficial. Now, what is lumen? Now, see this diagram. The empty space present in between in both the cases are considered to be lumen. So you can see in case of artery, the lumen is narrow. In case of vein, the lumen is wider. See here also it is written in case of artery, lumen is narrow. In case of vein, the lumen will be wider. You can see. Now the question arises why it is so. Why the artery are containing a narrow lumen? So that the blood flows with a great pressure and great speed. That is why the lumen in case of artery is narrow. Now, we move on to the topic of blood vessel. So, we have talked about artery and we have talked about vein and we have talked about artery. We will move on to capillary now. So, these arteries and veins are combined by the blood vessel known as capillary. So, this is where the capillary is located. It attaches both arteries and veins. Now, the function of capillaries we talk about, it allows the inward and outward diffusion of glucose, amino acids, urea, etc. Why so? Because it is considered, capillaries are considered to be very thin blood vessel. It is considered to be very thin blood vessel. It allows the diffusion of oxygen into intercellular fluids and inward diffusion of carbon dioxide from intercellular fluids. It also allows the movement of leukocytes WBC through capillary walls, while RBC and protein do not move out of capillary walls. So it allows the movement of leukocytes. You must have studied that process of diapedesis. So this occurs through capillary walls only since it is the thinnest blood vessel. Thank you.